Welcome into the PFF NFL Daily. Today discussing Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers. Sam, as of right now, they're the number 7 seed in the NFC at 5-5. They started out hot. Sam Darnold was looking great, but now the question is, can Cam Newton, who's poised to be the starter starting this week against the Washington football team, can Cam Newton keep them in the playoff race, lead them to a playoff charge here in the NFC?
Well, Cam Newton would be the best quarterback they've had on the roster this season. He's an upgrade over Sam Darnold. He's an upgrade over PJ Walker. So from that point of view, they've gotten better. I also think that, look, if they just brought Cam in, all he did was provide a video game cheat code for short yardage, they would be dramatically better as well. Like, he comes in, 3rd and 4th and goal, like 4th and 1, 3rd and 1. You can't stop him. Like, the things that he's capable of doing in terms of size, speed, the ability to pass, it's genuinely unstoppable. A defense cannot cope with that. There's just not enough guys to shut him down. But overall, this Panthers team is interesting. It's been pretty good on defense, very good against certain teams. Offense has been a lot more hit and miss. Their offensive line is kind of terrible, but I think Cam Newton makes that look a lot better than Sam Darnold did.
Yeah, a couple of those grades that stand out here. They've been really good rushing the passer. Their overall defensive grade for the Panthers is number 8 in the NFL right now. You mentioned the pass blocking, though, in the 50s, number 26 in the NFL, which is kind of as expected this season. But to your point, I agree Cam Newton is the best quarterback that they've had this year. But I think it's also important to reset expectations, as we always seem to have to do with Cam Newton, right?
Why you got to be that kind of hater?
I'm just trying to tell the truth here. His career has been a good, solid NFL quarterback with one elite MVP season. And so many times throughout his career, I mean, look at what's happened in New England right now. You would never look at Cam Newton and Mac Jones side by side and say, well, you would say Cam Newton's the more talented quarterback if you're judging talent by speed and arm strength and size and all that stuff. Of course, that's Cam Newton. But Cam Newton, I dare to say there's been one time in his career that he's played as well as Mac Jones right now, and it was in 2015. So is that fair? You're making faces at me. All I'm saying is Cam Newton is a very good – he's a good NFL quarterback. He is as unique as it gets, because that's what unique means, as far as the size and speed and rushing combination that he brings to the table. And I think he'll add a lot of value there, but he's got to elevate his game as a passer. The same thing we keep saying. He'll hit the stretch where he's just not hitting throws. Is he capable of the 2015 stuff? Maybe not, but maybe there's something in between the solid, good quarterback that we've seen and then the MVP candidate of 2015.
Yeah, I think even if you just say he's going to be the same guy he was in New England, right? Let's just take that as your baseline, and that's obviously not even close to the sort of the optimal high end of what you would expect or hope from Cam Newton. That was disappointing, Cam Newton, but it would still be better than anything we've ever seen from Sam Darnold, certainly over any extended period of time. This season, Darnold's PFF grade is 62.6. His passing grade is 60. Cam Newton has typically been around 70, right? Even outside of that incredible year where he was an 85 and an MVP level performer. A couple of years before that were better than that as well. But generally, you could draw an almost straight line through his career at that 70 mark in terms of PFF grade, which is massively better than you're going to see from Sam Darnold. And not just better, but more difficult to defend. I think this is something that is worth stating, that even when Cam Newton, isn't playing at his best, he is more difficult to defend than a random conventional style of quarterback who's playing at the same kind of level. So Cam Newton playing at a 70 is different to Sam Darnold playing at a 70, even if they were playing at the same level, and they shouldn't be, because Newton should be significantly better than that.
Yeah, because there's more run game value there. Look, I wasn't trying to trash Cam earlier. I'm just trying to say, look, he had the one MVP season, never graded above 76 in any other season, graded in the 70s pretty consistently. That is a good NFL quarterback. And when you do compare that or pair that with what the Panthers have done defensively right now, I know the Panthers have a tough run and a tough schedule here in the second half, but the defense doing some good things up front. The pass rush, as we've mentioned, switching up coverages. They've had some really good games. It is a nice pairing, and Cam Newton has always been that, short area cheat code. And I love when him and Christian McCaffrey get into the backfield together, because again, third and short, what are you going to do with McCaffrey running the ball or Cam Newton running it, even behind a not so great offensive line? Football fans, you ready to score some free bets? Now you can. You can bet on any NFL game this week with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. And new customers who bet just $1 on either team to score can win $100 in free bets. When a team scores, you score. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, DraftKings won't leave you empty-handed. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes all season long with DraftKings daily fantasy sports contests. And DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code PFF. Bet $1 on either team to score and win $100 in free bets. If they score, you score with promo code PFF this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older. New Jersey, Indiana, Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit, $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. Do you have something specific to add? Because I want to take another angle on this. This group of pass catchers that the Panthers have, the receiving group with DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson, when Terrace Marshall's out there with his size and everything, Cam has never really had a good group of receivers, right? Is this actually the best group he's ever played with in his career that goes back to 2011?
Yeah, probably. He's had a couple of receiving cores that have been better than the names involved, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
like the sum of those players and the way they went together and how they played in that specific year was better than just like when you read off the names, you're like, well, that wasn't a particularly good NFL player. So he's had some receiving cores that I think were generally okay. But yeah, this is an elite group. What we talked about for Darnold heading into the season, this is the best receiving core he's ever had to work with as well. So yeah, all the things that were supposed to be positives for Sam Darnold are remain positives for Cam Newton. Great receiving core, great offensive mind in terms of play caller Joe Brady. Same concerns, terrible offensive line. The line will be a problem. But it becomes interesting because, that was enough to kind of to make Sam Darnold look really good for a few games. And then Darnold fell off a cliff and it all fell apart for a few games. The one last point, though, that I think you mentioned before is worth bringing up. Carolina doesn't just have a difficult schedule down the stretch. They have the hardest schedule in the NFL. And they might be, 500 right now, but they literally they've gone from, I think, the easiest schedule in the NFL to date to the hardest. They are swinging from one end of the spectrum to the other. And what's really a problem for them is that, like everybody else around them in terms of that in the hunt graphic, the other contenders for those wild card spots, like none of them are in the same kind of ballpark, right? The Minnesota Vikings have the 12th most difficult, or the 12th most difficult schedule. And that's one of the higher ones. Seattle has the 18th most difficult. Like the other teams that are going to be challenging for that wild card spot with them have a much easier run in of it.
Yeah, that's going to be a massive factor for the Carolina Panthers here. The difficult schedule, but overall, the Matt Rhule era, I think it's year 2 for him. They invested all their picks in defense in 2020. I think that's starting to come to fruition this year, as much as you could build that defense, and they've added playmakers at every level there. So trending in the right direction there. Can Cam Newton take this offense to the next level? We expected, let's also rewind a little bit. We expected Sam Darnold to have a Teddy Bridgewater-like season. And even our expectation, maybe my expectations, because I was a little bit higher on maybe what Darnold could do than you were, even my expectations were just too high, because I thought we'd see Darnold with a pretty good grade, average grade, slightly above average grade, but really good numbers and stats. Can Cam Newton at least do that? Because if he does that, even with the difficult schedule, the Panthers are a tough team to beat. All the receivers I mentioned, Christian McCaffrey coming out of the backfield, Cam in short yardage. There are some pieces in play here for the Panthers, but yeah, it's going to be a tough road. Can Cam at least produce the way we thought Sam was going to produce, Darnold, in Teddy Bridgewater territory?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are too many consistent years in Cam Newton's career for us to expect his grade to deviate too much. So, but it would be the similar kind of thought process to what we thought from Bridgewater a year ago, and then Darnold this season, which is, let's say his PFF grade stays in the same place. He's going to end up grading around 70, 71, 72, but the box score numbers might jump up. So instead of 7 yards per attempt, 7.2 that he had that last season in New England, maybe that jumps to 7.5 or 8 yards per attempt. The big time throw rate, that was at 2.8% when he had no receivers to throw to in New England. Maybe that jumps up to 3.5 to 4.5, something like that. I think we might see a kind of bump in all of his numbers and all of his box score stats, but Newton himself isn't necessarily being any more efficient on a down-to-down basis.
Would be the first time since the only time in his career that he's actually performed better statistically than his grade was early in 2018. Short passing game, yards after the catch. Panthers got that out of him right before his shoulder injury. We'll see if they can replicate that. The Panthers getting better at quarterback, but it's going to be a tough road to make the playoffs. It's a PF